This is Chapter 3 on page 41, Adding Project Tasks. Now that you've created and defined your project plan, you need to modify the project plan so that it reflects the work that needs to be done for a particular project. You understand that Microsoft Project is a very powerful tool for defining and scheduling the details of a project plan, but you may not know just how to do this. You might already use task lists to keep track of things that need to be done in your personal or professional life. Or you might use a notepad or other software tools, such as Microsoft Outlook or Excel, to keep track of your tasks. When it comes to a robust project plan that can be scheduled to the degree of precision that fits your needs, Project can help you turn a basic task list into a real schedule. In this lesson, you will do just that. In this lesson, you will add tasks to a project plan and enter duration estimates for tasks. So this video will actually be covering both Topic A and Topic B in Chapter 3. Topic A is adding tasks to a project plan. Once you have created a Microsoft project file, you must update it with detailed information for your project. In Topic A, you will enter the tasks that must be performed to complete the project. And then Topic B is going to be entering task duration estimates. Up to this point, you have created an activity plan that contains a simple list of tasks. Without knowing the duration of the tasks, it would be impossible to plan your project. So in Topic B, you will enter task duration estimates. A task is a specific chunk of project work. In other words, tasks are the building blocks of effort that need to be done to execute the project. So each one of these rows in what we call our task entry table is one task. These here are actually summary tasks. They summarize the individual tasks. So all 4 of these are part of the summary task, planning the move. Okay? So summary task in bold, and then the individual tasks are indented underneath them. In Microsoft Project Professional, you can use tasks to break a project into manageable pieces of work. You can schedule the duration and sequence of tasks in project and assign resources, such as people or materials who will perform the tasks. The task entry table, as shown, this is the left-hand side of your main screen here, where your list is. You are already familiar with the Gantt chart view. This view contains the task entry table, which is the main area in Microsoft Project from which to view, enter, and modify tasks. The task entry table works very much like other table-based screens. If you have worked with tables in Excel or other programs, you will find similar functionality in Microsoft Project. In the left pane of the Gantt chart view, you will see the task entry table, which contains the following project information in columns from left to right. So our columns in our task entry table, we start with this column, which is the row numbers. So this just shows the row in the Gantt chart. This number corresponds to the task ID of the task in that row. So if I say to select task number 10, you actually want to click on the number 10, and you can see it highlights the whole entire row. So you don't want to select the task just by clicking on the name, because you can see it only selects that one particular field or cell in the table. You want to remember to click on the number in your ID or row number. Then your next column, this one shown with the little letter I, is your indicators column. Little icons that show the status of the tasks, help, and error information. For example, if a task contains a note, this column will show a note indicator. So the note indicator is the little sticky note. You can see when I hover my cursor over it, it tells me what the note is that's attached to this task. So this section prepares you to plan your move based on your timetable and moving requirements. That's a note attached to planning the move. This is an example of a constraint indicator. This task has a start no earlier than constraint on Monday, August 10th, 2015. So this particular task of calculate moving expenses cannot start until, August 10th. So you would not be able to put that as, August 9th. Maybe a specific resource is not available until that date in order for that task to begin. Okay? Then the next column we have is task mode. This shows whether the task is manually or auto-scheduled. Hover over, these are all automatically scheduled tasks. So whoever created this project file, let Microsoft Project automatically schedule the start dates for them. And then our next column, we have our task name. This is a brief description of the work. Short action-oriented task names are best. For example, design logo. So you can see very short descriptions of what that task is going to be doing. Then you have the duration field. This is how long the task will take. By default, Microsoft Project uses days as the unit of time for durations. But if you want, you can specify minutes, hours, weeks, or months as the unit of time as well. So you could just type that in directly into the cell to enter the duration. Then you have the start fields. This is the date when the task is planned to begin. Then you have the date when the task is planned to be completed. And then here's the predecessors column. This is the task ID of tasks on which this task is dependent to complete. I don't believe we have any predecessors listed here, but we will get into those in just a moment. Then at the bottom of page 39, it talks about the task information dialog box. And you open the task information dialog box by double-clicking on a task name. So if I double-click on calculate moving expenses, this opens up the task information dialog box for that particular task. You can see on my general tab in the name field, it shows the calculate moving expenses. So in the Gantt chart view, whenever you open a task, the task information dialog box opens. This dialog box contains all the information about the task grouped into 6 tabs. You have your general tab, predecessors, resources, your advanced tab, your notes, and any custom fields. And on the general tab, you can see it displays some of, or majority of, I should say, the columns that actually show on our task entry table. So again, the task name, you can enter the duration here, your schedule mode, your start date, your finish date. Okay, so it has a lot of those entries that are available on your task entry table for you. The duration field shows the amount of time it will take to complete the task. Usually you will know how long it will take to perform a task. However, if you're not sure how long a task will take, you can mark the duration as estimated. If you mark a duration as estimated, it will be shown with a question mark. So if I check that off, you can see duration is 1 day right now. But if I'm not sure, I can check that off and you can see now it's 1 day with a question mark at the end. If I just type the question mark after the duration, you can see it automatically checks off that estimated box for me. Okay, so either or way to estimate the duration of that. All right, I'm going to cancel out of here for a second. At the bottom of page 40, talks about task links. When you link 2 tasks together in Microsoft Project, you are creating a dependency between their start and finish dates. Dependencies drive the project schedule. A task's predecessors are the tasks which drive its schedule, while its successors are the tasks which are dependent upon it. Every change you make to a linked task will affect its successors and its successors, say that 5 times fast, and its successors' successors, and so on. By default, whenever you link 2 tasks in Microsoft Project, a simple finish to start dependency is established between them. This means that the first task must be completed before the second task can begin. The links between tasks are indicated with arrows. If your project is simple, you might link all of the tasks together into a single chain, better known to project managers as a path. However, in more complex projects, tasks are often linked together to perform multiple paths that may diverge, converge, or run in parallel with one another. For example, let's take a look at our task list here in my example project file that I have. All right, let's say I cannot determine the best method of moving until I finish calculating the moving expenses. So that would mean that task number 4 is dependent on task number 3 finishing first. So what I could do is I would select both of the tasks. And to do that, I'm going to click in my row. Remember to click in the row number and not on the actual name. I can drag down to select both of them at the same time. So again, determine the best method of moving cannot start until I finish calculate the moving expenses, just as an example. So if I wanted to link these two together, I would go up to my task tab on my ribbon, and in my schedule command group, here I have a command to link the selected tasks. And when I select this, when I click on this command button with my task selected, it links them together. And if you noticed, in my predecessors column for task number 4 now, it shows the number 3. Now this means that this has a default dependency of what we call finish to start. That means in order for task number 4 to start, the predecessor, number 3, calculate moving expenses, has to finish first. So again, calculate moving expenses has to finish in order for task 4 to start. So the predecessor for task 4 is number 3. Okay, there are other types of dependencies that we'll look at in this chapter. There's a total of 4 of them, but just remember the default when you link two tasks together is going to be finish to start, or FS for short. The other ones we'll take a look at are start to finish, finish to finish, and start to start. So FS is the default, then you have SF, SS, and FF. That will be a quiz question, but we'll have a whole section of that regarding that in Chapter 3 that we'll go over.
Your next videos will be Activity 3.1 on page 47 and also Activity 3.2 on page 52.